Hello, 5th primary students. A new math lesson under the supervision of the Ministry of Education. أهلا ومرحبا بكم طلبة وطالبات الصف الخامس الابتدائي ودرس جديد في مادة الرياضيات تحت رعاية وإشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Our lesson for today is the area of a parallelogram. Okay, today we will learn how to get the area and the perimeter of a parallelogram. First, we need to know what is a parallelogram. It is a quadrilateral in which each two opposite sides are equal in length and parallel. What does this mean? The parallelogram is a quadrilateral. Quad is a Latin word which means four. So quadrilateral is a shape that has four sides. شكل عنده أربعة sides, four sides. Each two opposite sides كل اتنين منهم equal in length، يعني ال two sides اللي هما بيبصوا على بعض اللي قدام بعض بيبقوا equal in length and the other two sides اللي في الاتجاه التاني وبرضو بيبصوا على بعض أو parallel to each other also they are equal in length. Okay, as we see here, the two blue sides, the sides line segment PS and QR are parallel to each other and equal in length. نفس الطول متوازيين لبعض ونفس الطول أو نفس القياس. The other two sides, the green ones, SR line segment and PQ line segment, they are also parallel to each other and equal in length. ومش بيبقوا طبعا الأربعة نفس length. Okay? Usually هما بيبقوا each two are different in length. Each two are equal in length and different from the other two, I mean. Okay? As you see now, the two orange ones are parallel and equal, and the two green ones are parallel to each other and equal in length. Now, the height of a parallelogram. How can I get a height of a parallelogram? Do you remember in the first term when we talked about the height, and we said that the height is a line segment dropped from a point to the corresponding angle, or the corresponding base, to the corresponding base or side. يعني الهايت عندي ده line بيسقط من point أو vertex of a shape على ال opposite side أو السايد اللي في وشه على طول. Okay? So the measure of the height of a parallelogram is the perpendicular distance between the opposite sides of the parallelogram. Here in the parallelogram, it's not exactly the same idea of the triangle. When we talked about the area of triangle before, we said that the height of a triangle before, we said that the height is the perpendicular from one of the three vertices that we have on their corresponding sides. While here it is the perpendicular distance between two opposite sides. طيب ازاي شكلهم عامل ازاي؟ We'll take it later. We have two possible values for the height depending on which pair of opposite sides are chosen. Okay? The base is defined to be one of the two chosen opposite sides. ايه كل الكلام ده؟ كل الكلام ده انه احنا we said and we have two pairs of sides. عندي كل زوجين من ال sides are equal in length and parallel to each other. So I have two different heights. The height is dropped from one side to the opposite one. فلما بستعمل ال two sides دول بيبقى القياس بين ال two sides مختلف لو أنا هاخد القياس بتاع ال height عند ال two sides التانيين. So here we'll learn about some terms and then we'll go to the board to explain it on the shapes itself. The height of a parallelogram, and we have the base of the parallelogram. It is the base which is corresponding to the height. يعني لو فرضنا إنه these are two opposite sides of a parallelogram, and I have here, this is the height, then this is the side, and this is, this is the, one of the sides, this is the other side, and this is the height. It is the distance of the perpendicular from one side to the opposite one. So this is called the height. And we have the area of the parallelogram, of course. And these are the symbols, دي الرموز اللي بنستخدمها عشان to refer to each one of them. So the height of a parallelogram, I use the letter H. The length of the corresponding base of the parallelogram, I use the letter B. And the area of the interior, يعني الداخل بتاع parallelogram أو area of the parallelogram, I use the letter A capital. Okay. So my rule is A equals B times H. يبقى area of a parallelogram, to get it, I need to know the length of both the height and the base. عشان أجيب area of a parallelogram لازم بيكون عندي البيز length بتاع البيز and the length of the height. طيب نحاول نفهم الكلام ده على الدراوينج عشان نعرف ازاي نقدر نجيب او ايه هي الهايت and the base، ازاي اجيب اللينث بتاعهم او ادور عليهم فين على الباراليلوجرام بتاعي. Now let's move to the board to see it. Okay, as we said before, the parallelogram has two pairs of sides. كل زوجين من الsides they have their own length. مش بيبقى نفس اللينث بتاع الاثنين sides التانيين. as we see here, we have the red sides الناحيتين أو two sides اللي لونهم أحمر parallel to each other، والاثنين دول عندهم نفس القياس أو نفس اللينث. So if I drop the height from the straight line M, and we have the opposite one also M, H اللي between them D, it's the height. So I drop it from the upper side to the opposite side, and I call the opposite side اللي أنا بحط الهايت عليها أو الهايت بينزل لغاية عندها إنه دي البيز بتاعي. ويوجولي الهايت الصغير بيبقى عند البيز اللي طولها أكبر، إنما الهايت الكبير بيبقى عند البيز اللي طولها أكبر. And here we have another height we drop it. ده اللي إحنا كنا بنقوله، إنه أنا عندي هنا I dropped another height from the side N, and it is dropped also on the opposite base, so this is the other height. So عندي هنا القياس بتاع الهايت اللي في الفيرست شيب مش ممكن هيكون قد القياس بتاع السكند شيب، لأنه الديستانس between the two straight line M is different from the distance between the two line N. يبقى عندي هنا الباراليلوجرام بيبقى أقدر أجيب له الهايت بنفس بطريقتين مختلفتين. الهايت في الآخر الريزلت أو الانسر بتبقى هي بس اللينث بتاع الهايت اللي أنا بستخدمه مع الكورسبوندينج بيز بتاعه هما اللي بيكونوا مختلفين. يعني الهايت ده مع البيز اللي أنا أسقطته عليها هيبقى التو نمبرز مختلفين، بس at the end الانسر هلاقيها هي بتاعة الاريا I mean of the parallelogram، هلاقيها هي بتاعة نفس الشكل لو جبت برضو الاريا بالهايت بالطريقة التانية. الهايت هيكون طوله مختلف، البيز هيكون طولها مختلف، لكن at the end الاريا مش هتتغير، هتفضل هي الاريا. اوكي، ودي هنشوفه واحنا بنحل. So here those two heights are not equal in measure، ده اللي احنا لسه قايلينه، عشان length between the two sides مختلف، فبالتالي الهايت هيكون مختلف. لما distance between them هتبقى صغيرة الهايت هيبقى قصير، لما distance between them هتبقى كبيرة الهايت هيبقى كبير. اوكي، So as you see, the blue part inside, this is the area. So here the area is M times H, and here the area will be N times H. Okay? فزي ما احنا شايفين ال height in the first figure it is bigger than the height of the second figure، والبيز بتاعت ال first figure اللي هي ال M أصغر من البيز بتاعت ال second figure اللي هي ال N. فزي ما احنا قلنا ال bigger height times the smaller base and the opposite. في الآخر الاريا بتاعت الفيجر ما دام هو the same figure، الاريا بتاعته سواء جبتها بال first height or بال second height هتبقى equal. لكن اللي هيختلف عندي ال operation نفسها أو ال two terms that I multiply by each other, which are the H and the B. So the H, the bigger H with the smaller B, and the smaller H with the bigger B, which is the base. Here it's the N and over there it's the M. So that's it. This is the part that we've been talking about. Okay? Now, ال height بتاع ال parallelogram ممكن يجي برضو بشكلين. ممكن يكون جوه ال parallelogram زي ما احنا شايفين في ال first figure، أو ممكن يجي outside the parallelogram زي ما احنا شايفين هنا في ال second figure. Okay? So whether it is inside or outside, I multiply the height, which is in the red line, by the opposite base to get the area of the parallelogram. Now let's go back to practice on these ideas. To recap, the area of the parallelogram, as we see here, the height, the dotted line عندي inside the parallelogram. بس المرة دي the opposite base أو ال corresponding base أو البيز اللي الهايت سقط عليها هي البيز اللي on top اللي فوق. Okay? So, sorry, the base اللي تحت which is here in red. عشان أنا في الباراليلوجرام مش بهتم بإن أنا أدروب the base من a vertex، لكن بدروب it from a side to the opposite one. So here the area of a parallelogram is the base length بتاعت البيز بتاعت times the corresponding height or the opposite, the height times the corresponding base. So here again the area of the parallelogram is base times height. This is the most important thing that I need to know. And then we have the two facts that we talked about. إنه length of the smaller base times the greater height and the opposite. إحنا كمان عندنا هنا في another base هنا I can drop a height on. Okay? فزي ما إحنا شايفين لما كانت البيز الكبير الهايت كان أصغر، ولما كانت البيز صغيرة كان الهايت الأكبر، وده according to the distance between the two sides. Okay? So this is the fact that we need to remember. The length of the smaller base times the greater height, or the length of the greater base times the smaller height. ودي عادة هتساعدنا if we ask you to get the length of the height. Okay? If you have the area and I ask you to get the length of the height or maybe the base. As you see in front of you, I have a parallelogram PQRS. My height is from the P to the corresponding base QR. يبقى البيز بتاعي QR. Example in numbers. I have here a parallelogram where my 6 centimeters in front of you. This is the length of the height. I'm sorry it's written outside, but this is the length of the height. And my base is 11 centimeters, as you see. So to get the area, I multiply the base, which is 11, times the height, which is 6 centimeters. The answer will be 66 centimeters squared. Remember, when we get the area of a geometrical shape, it's always a squared unit. When I get the area of any geometrical shape, the area is always a squared unit. Okay? Now let's practice. I have two shapes or two parallelograms, A and B, with different base length. We have the same height but different base length. And I want you to get the area of both of them. So here the area of a parallelogram equals base times height. Area of parallelogram A, the base is 9 and the height is 4. So 4 times 9 is 36 centimeters squared. Okay, what about the parallelogram B? The parallelogram B, again, the same rule all the time, base times height. Okay, my base length is 5 centimeters and my height is 4 centimeters. So it's going to be 5 times 4. And 5 times 4 is 20, so the answer is 20 centimeters squared. Another question here. I have a parallelogram with two different heights and I have the length of both bases. So here أنا عندي الطول بتاع 2 bases مختلفين وعندي الطول بتاع 2 heights مختلفين. طيب أنا عايزة دلوقتي إنه أجيب الاريا بتاعتها باستخدام التو heights المختلفين الموجودين عندي وأشوف الفاكت اللي احنا اتكلمنا عليها صح ولا غلط، اللي هي إنه الاريا دايما بتاعت the same figure أو the same parallelogram بتبقى الاريا هي ما بتتغيرش حتى لو جبتها ب two different heights و two different bases. let's see. Here he wants the area of the opposite parallelogram. Area of a parallelogram equals زي ما اتفقنا base times height. أظن خلاص اتحفظت. So it will be the first one 4 okay times 6 عشان ال corresponding base بتاعت الهايت 4 هي ال 6 فهتبقى 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24 centimeters squared. اوكي طيب نقدر دلوقتي نجيبها باستخدام the other height 4.8. اوكي و 4.8 لو اخدنا بالنا هي الهايت الاكبر من ال4. الهايت ده اكبر من الهايت التاني. طيب بس انا ما عنديش اللينث بتاع الكورسبوندينج سايد بتاعت ال 4.8 بس انا عندي اللينث بتاعت السايد الاوبوزيت ليها. And we said before that every two opposite sides in a parallelogram are parallel and equal in length. So أنا هاخد الفاكت دي دلوقتي وهيبقى السايد دي equals to 5 ودي الكورسبوندينج سايد بتاعت الهايت 4.8 زي ما احنا شايفين هي أصغر من the other side which is the 6. اوكي يبقى فعلا it's true انه البيجر height بيبقى مع السمولر base والسمولر height بيبقى مع البيجر base. كده one fact احنا اتأكدنا انها صح. طيب دلوقتي we need to move to the other fact اللي هي هل دلوقتي الاريا لو انا جبتها باستخدام الهايت والبيز التانيين اللي مختلفين عن الهايت والبيز اللي في الاول هتبقى هي ولا لا؟ So we try this again. Base times height, so 4.8 times 5. When we multiply 48 times 5, we will get 240, and then we put 1 decimal point, so you will get 24 centimeters squared. Okay? فيبقى أنا كده أثبت الفاكت التاني بتاعتي إنه ال area of a parallelogram does not change حتى لو أنا استخدمت different height and a different base. Both of them are going to be equal, or it will be equal in both cases. Here, another question. A parallelogram of area 63 centimeters squared and the length of its base is 7 centimeters. Find the corresponding height. زي ما قلنا find the corresponding height of this base. يعني دلوقتي احنا عايزين ال height مش ال area. I have the area already, which is 63 centimeters squared, and the base length is 7 centimeters. Find the corresponding height of this base. Okay, how do we find it? Okay, area equal base times height. يبقى هسويتش الرول. عندي الهايت هنا، هودي الاريا الناحية التانية. Instead of the times, it will be divided, will be at the bottom. So h equal a over b. So h equal 63 divided 7 equals 9 centimeters. Now, another question. The length of two adjacent sides in a parallelogram are 6 centimeters and 8 centimeters. If the greater height is 4 centimeters, find its smaller height. As we said before, greater height يعني ده اللي كان جاي مع ال corresponding base الأصغر اللي هي 6 سنتيمتر. I want the smaller height يبقى هيجي مع ال bigger side or base. Then I'll use the rule of the height, which is first area base times height, because I don't have the area here. Base times height equals 6 times 4, which is 24 centimeters. Then the height equals to the area over the length of the greater base. So it's 24 over 8, because this is my greater base. Then my smaller height, as you see, is 3 centimeters. Okay, that's all for now. We'll meet later to practice more on the parallelogram and learn about how to get the area and the perimeter of a square. Thank you. Bye.